guys, today I'm going to be sharing my worst products of 2022 and the most disappointing. So my last video was my best of beauty in case you're wanting to hear the positives, but I am making the distinction between worst and most disappointing because there were a lot of really hyped up products that I tried and I thought were just okay. So they're not terrible, but because I had such high expectations for them, they disappointed me more than some of the worst makeup I tried this year. So I'll explain as we go along. Most of these things I no longer have, of course, so I will insert some pictures on the screen. So starting with the worst makeup of the year, you're probably going to hear me mention some things that other people have mentioned. The first would be the Jaclyn Cosmetics Skin Tint and Concealer. And I am not one of those people that wants to hate Jaclyn's products. If you saw my best of beauty, I actually mentioned several of her products in that video. I have a lot of things I love, some things I haven't liked, and then some things that were just okay. These products were terrible. They have been popping up at TJ Maxx and Marshalls recently. I'd say even for like $6, $8, $10, don't get them. First off, both of these were a little too light for me, which was surprising, but I guess that's good. The shade range went pretty light and I'm not sure how deep it went. I would love to hear your experience if you have more of a deep skin tone and how the shades worked for you. But the skin tint was, of course, super sheer and it accentuated my lines. It clung to any dryness I have, and you guys know I'm pretty oily, and it wasn't buildable at all. I have tried several skin tints this year that are a little bit buildable, give a little bit of coverage, a little something to make it worth putting on, and this was not worth putting on. And then their concealer is terrible. So it dries in an instant, so you have no time to blend it out. And I'm not someone that lets my concealer sit. I really do go right in and blend it anyway, but this one, it's like you can't do the center of your face, under your eyes, and then come back to blend it out because it's going to be dried already. So you literally have to like put it under your eye, blend it, and then it just was like too dry, too matte. It didn't feel like it meshed well with other complexion products, and I personally think the two of these should not have been released at the same time because to me they don't work together, and I feel that way about skin tints and full coverage concealers anyway. I think when I wear them, I look like a crazy person. So I really think it works best to pair more of like a light medium coverage concealer with a skin tint that has that little coverage. So the two of them together looked a hot mess, but were not good individually either. The skin tint just did nothing and the concealer was just terrible. So I do not recommend those at all. Next was the Benefit Boing Bright On Concealer. Now I did not enjoy the previous Boing that they released. I actually ended up using mine as a foundation. And this, the tip was really flexible, which was a little bit annoying, but it wasn't terrible. And these are supposed to be more corrector type shades, but they are so sheer and the pigment is, again, so sheer, so lightweight that they don't actually do any correcting. Depending on the shade you get, you might be able to use it as a light coverage brightening product, but that sort of seems like a waste, especially for that price tag. So I just think this was not a good product. I literally did not hear anybody talk about it after it first released and people got it in PR. Next is a product where the formula is great, but the colors are off. The Anastasia Cream Bronzer. I had the lightest color and it was very yellow with like a little bit of green in there. Not cute. And I don't know why Anastasia does this. I feel like with her brow pomade, the blonde color was super green as well. It just looked awful, but the formula is so good and it's wonderful because even though her range is not huge, I think she actually, no, she did add more shades recently. So I think maybe she went from like 5 to 10 and it does look to go very deep, but it also looks like the deep shades are very red. So the undertones in this range are very severe. It doesn't look like there's any real neutrals. It looks like everything is yellow, green, orange, red. So it, to me, is just not the most natural and flattering looking color, but the formula was really good. So if you can find a shade that will work for you, go for it. I think that Angelica found one that she liked that was more of like the 3rd or 4th shade in the range. Next, I tried a Danessa Myricks Color Fix, the glaze one in Cupcake, and that's not for me. It was too sticky. I tried it on my cheeks and my lips and it looked pretty, but I have other formulas that are just easier to work with. I love watching her videos where she's applying these on people's skin, especially the more metallic ones she uses on the eyes. I love watching her use them, and I think that they're so fun and editorial, but for an everyday person like me, no. I mean, this was like a formula, it just wasn't for me, but I think in general, for most people, they're likely going to expire before you get to use them up, but so fun for artistry. And I like that it's available for anyone to purchase at Sephora, but it's just not for me. Then would be the About Face cream blush, and I thought I liked it at first, and the more that I worked with it, it wasn't my favorite. So it is like a silicone putty texture, and you guys know I love a cream to powder blush, but this one just felt like a little bit patchy. It didn't blend out perfectly on the skin, and honestly, the Bare Minerals Bounce and Blur blushes, which I know are more expensive, are some of the easiest formulas to work with over top of powder, and just in general a great cream to powder formula. And this I just don't think was as good. Next is something I got with my Ulta points that I knew I shouldn't, but the other things I wanted were out of stock at the time, and that would be the Jaclyn Cosmetics Putty Highlight. I just had a feeling I was not gonna like this texture, and I don't. But really, the reason I don't like this is because this is glitter packed, and it could be that it's just the top layer, but I have not worked through it to really be able to see. I love her other highlighters. The pressed ones are so good. And I love a intense highlight. I'm not a natural highlight girl like most people have gotten to be over the past year, but this is so glittery and does not look flattering on the skin. The texture itself, I do think, is nice, and maybe I need to apply it differently because on my hand here it looks metallic but not glittery, so I don't know. I need to play with it more. I'm going to keep it because, again, I got it with my points, but if you have this, please let me know how you apply it and get it to work for you. It's not like a gummy product or anything. Again, it's not the texture, it's just that it looked really glittery on my skin. And I had the color Iced, by the way, which I do have in the powder highlight and absolutely love. Next was a product from Huda Beauty that I had gotten on sale. It was her Glow Obsessions highlighter palette, and it is a little bit smaller than you expect, which is fine. You don't need a ton of highlight. But I found that these were very hard pressed, and I had a hard time getting them on my brush and then onto my face. And it was just looking too subtle. Maybe I would get some of the color to show, but not the shimmer. It just felt like it was not the easiest formula to work with and not the most beautiful highlight. So that one did end up going back. Then a product that, again, a lot of people have mentioned in their worst of video for this year would be the Patrick Ta Major Headlines Volume 2 Blush and Highlight Palette. And I did not get the first one because the colors looked too dark for me, but this one looked perfect. And I was especially excited for that coral, and I was so excited that they included a highlighter. For the highlighter, the powder was very dry and chunky looking on the cheeks. And then the Dew Balm was just freaking disgusting. So I did try it once where I tried to do the Dew Balm as a base. It completely picked up my foundation and ruined my makeup. So then I did powder highlight first, the Dew Balm on top with a sponge, and that looked better. It didn't mess up my makeup, but my face was sticky all day long. Like literally 8-10 hours later, my face still felt sticky, which I can't stand. My hair was getting stuck in it. I've never tried something that felt so sticky. It was disgusting. And then for the blush duos, I think that the colors were so beautiful. I agree with others that I wish that it didn't have the glitter in the creams and that they were just like his normal blush formula. And also for some reason, it felt like it smelled like kids' makeup or something. It was very odd. If he would come out with that coral duo, but in the normal formula without all the glitter and shimmer, I would buy it because I think the color is stunning. But this was just a total miss. I think it's already half off at Sephora. So I would definitely say pass on this. It was so expensive and really not good. The Too Faced Too Femme palette, I knew I should not have purchased this one, and of course I bought it anyway. And the neutrals in here work really well, but the pastels need a lot of building. I found that the shimmers were pretty chunky, which surprised me because the setup is the same as the Teddy Bear, which was one of my favorites from 2021. So that is why, unlike other people, I still had high expectations for this one. I'm very glad that I got it on sale. I'll probably try to play with it a little bit more, but it's something I do see myself maybe trying to sell. Okay, I had to pin my hair back. It was driving me crazy and it was looking so flat and not cute. So now we're into the not worth the hype category, which were products that I heard raved about either on YouTube or TikTok that I tried and just did not love. So first being the NYX Pore Filler Stick. I saw people put this on, it was like their pores disappeared. Not for me, it didn't do anything. I don't know if my pores are too deep or what, but the effect was so subtle. Again, it wasn't worth using. I have other pore filling primers like the Dr. Brandt Pores No More that I think works so much better, and I would pick over that other one every time. Another thing I really didn't love that was a primer was the Say Super Gel in Star Glow. I used up a little mini. Similar to Kosas complexion products, I feel like it had a bit of a floral hair bleach type of scent, which I've kind of gotten used to at this point, and I don't remember it being as strong as the Kosas one is. And this just gives such a subtle glow for me. I don't know if it's because the color of the glow is too similar to my skin tone or not, but as a primer, I don't feel like the glow shows through my foundation. Definitely not once I've set my skin. And I don't think it does anything else for the skin. It's not really hydrating or smoothing, obviously, but it doesn't do anything the glow I found to be too subtle. I have tried glowy primers at like VDL Lumalayer, Becca Backlight Priming Filter, and I just don't think this one did as much as those others do in terms of glow. Next was the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. This was not terrible, but I thought it was just meh. I fell in love with the L'Oreal True Match Nude Serum for a drugstore skin tint, and this one I just felt like was not special. It did not look amazing on the skin. It was just okay, and I didn't feel like reaching for it over anything else, so I did end up passing it on. The color wasn't perfect like undertone wise, but still it was just, the formula was just okay. I'm really surprised that people have been head over heels in love with it. Next is something I tried to love so hard, the Hourglass Soft Glow Foundation, because it was so expensive. And I got the color number 2, which I think is maybe the 3rd shade in the range, but the lightest yellow tone. It was too dark for me, and I feel like it either oxidized or dried down a little bit darker. And this did give nice medium to full coverage. I think it looked nice when I applied it, but it did not wear perfectly all day. It did start to separate, get a little oily, and I really thought about keeping it, but it was just so expensive, and compared to some other foundations I have, it just wasn't there for me. It wasn't to the tippy top. If this was like $20 cheaper, I may have kept it, but it's just too expensive for me to not be absolutely in love with it and for me to try to convince myself to love it. So out of this list, this is probably the thing I'm the least disappointed by, but still disappointed nonetheless. Next was the newer Huda Beauty Concealer, Faux Filter maybe, and I don't get it. First off, I don't like the applicator. I felt like because it was so firm and not fuzzy enough that I wasn't able to get a ton of product and I had to dip back in. I don't think that this gives good coverage, and I felt like it emphasized like lines and dryness under my eyes. I think it's like a little matte but thin, which I don't like. I don't know, it just didn't give the coverage I was looking for. I didn't like the way it looked once it was set. No, not good. Another thing that I was disappointed that I didn't like, and luckily I just got a sample, the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Concealer. I have the foundation and I absolutely love it, but the concealer was a no. It is very thick and creamy, so it creased really badly under my eyes. It gave nice coverage, but I just didn't like the way that it looked at all. Maybe if you have more dry under eyes, you would like it. And again, a lot of people mention it in their yearly favorites, but for me, it was just not good, which is fine because I don't want to spend that money anyways. Next would be some little Charlotte Tilbury wand dupes. So I tried the Milani contour wand. I didn't like it. It was a little small, but mostly my issue is that I felt like it blended out in a patchy way and was not easy to work with, not pretty looking. And then I tried the Makeup Revolution Bright Light in Divine Dark Pink, and that was supposed to be a dupe for one of the Charlotte Tilbury blush wands. And again, it was a little small, so I felt like I had to be a little bit more careful with my placement, and it was just a little too metallic looking on the cheeks. I didn't find it to be super pretty. And I know people have tried this in the actual highlighter shades and have really disliked it. Next, I have some things that make me sad, and I really just want to hear from you guys recommendations of how to apply them, because I want these to work for me. They're Phytosurgeons products, and I think Phytosurgeons is like a more fun Glossier. And I don't know if maybe my makeup preferences just don't match their style. So first we have the Flash Fluorescence Cream Shadows. This is Wild Wisteria. It's a really pretty color. Something about the texture of these is totally different than any other cream shadow I've tried. It is very firm to the touch. You really have to work in there. It is not as smooth and creamy as like a Revlon or Maybelline cream shadow pot. So that already throws me off. The texture of it, the powdery siliconey-ness, and I feel like it's not sticky where I would use it as a base. It's something I feel like I would need to use on its own, but I think that my eye looks are more precise than when I've seen people use this. It's more of like a slap on, maybe one shadow in the crease. I don't know. I feel like I just need to do some more research. Do you like these applied with a brush or your finger? What type of brush are you using? If you have these and like them, how are you using them? Is it a base? Is it on their own? What other powder shadows are you combining with it? I don't know. It just wasn't as easy to use as I expected. And then this one, I thought I was going to have some issues with, and I had more than I expected. This is one of the Spectral Shine highlighter balms, and I have the lightest color, Fresh Fog. I did buy the cheek brushes, and it almost still feels like they're not dense enough for this product. And I've heard that you need to swirl and swirl and swirl and swirl, which I've done. And I don't know if you can tell, it's like this part here is darker because it's like I got my foundation on it. And right here is lighter because I scratched it with my finger, and that helped a little bit. But I'm like, do I have to scratch off the whole top layer? Like, how far do I have to get in here? I have seen people use them up or close to using them up, and I'm sure they've like really worked the product at that point. But when you guys get this, you know, brand new, how do you get into the product is what I want to know. And how much base makeup can I wear underneath? That's also what I want to know. So I think that these are just a little bit more finicky to work with, and I don't know if my makeup style again matches their style or the formulas for their products. And then lastly, I have two tubing mascaras that a lot of people love that I think do jack. And I have not been wowed by tubing mascaras in general. I think mostly because they seem to have such boring brushes. I really did like the Thrive Cosmetics Liquid Lash Extensions. I like that plastic brush because I do think it gives some nice length. I did see that Milani recently released a dupe of that. I do want to try that one out. But these things suck. The Merit and the Cali Ray. So the Merit, I think, is called the Clean Lash. And this is what the wand looks like. To me, this is like a sample tester wand that you get at Sephora to try mascaras. It is so basic. I feel like it didn't do anything for my lashes. And I think my lashes are decently long. I've got some decent volume, some decent thickness. I don't have an issue with curls. So for me, I usually do like most mascaras. There are some that I absolutely love more than others, but this one didn't do anything but make my lashes black. And I don't want to waste my time with something like that. I don't even know about the tubing aspect for both of these. Like, I always use a cleansing balm to take off my makeup, and I always wear eyeshadow. So I have no idea about that. I actually don't really care about the tubing aspect. I understand that's like the whole hype about this, or the cool thing. And then we have the Cali Ray Come Hell or High Water. Very glad I just got a little mini with a coupon code, because I think maybe State of Kate didn't like this one. The brush is like a little tighter on this one than the Merit, but still a very basic shape. Did not do a darn thing for my lashes besides make them black. So I would honestly say don't waste your time. I would love to know if you guys have yet tried the new Milani dupe, or you plan on picking it up for the Thrive. I think that one, because of the brush, looks like it's going to do a little something and be a little special. So I am excited to try that, but these just do jack. So guys, those were my worst and most disappointing products of 2022. I would love to hear your thoughts if you've tried these, especially if you've tried the Phytosurgeons products and the Jaclyn Putty highlight. Please let me know how you apply them, how you think I can get them to work for me, because I still have them because I want to make them work for me. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.